Greetings everyone, it's Sister Goddess Kamara. How are you? I want to thank everyone who's been giving me some really positive feedback on my video, even though it was long, on the ancestors and how we honor and work with them. So this is more of a, I promise to be hopefully shorter video on how you can set up some of the things I use to set up an ancestor altar. And this, again, as with all of my videos, is not a hard and fast rule. In fact, if you practice with a particular religion, a lot of religions have specific ways they want you to set up an ancestor altar, or they have some guidance around that. So definitely seek out your own teachers if that is the case. This video is mainly for people who are lay people who maybe want to implement an simple ancestor altar in their home as a beginning of cultivating a relationship with their ancestors and a beginning of stabilizing the home in African-centered technology, which I call ancestor veneration. And again, there's a lot of different cultures that honor their ancestors. So if you're watching this and you're not from the African culture, please know that you're welcome to watch this and glean from it what you can for your own culture. As I said in the video before, when you're working with your ancestors, it's something very personal. You know, your ancestors are personal to you because they're from your bloodline, and their whole motive, commitment to you is based on the fact that they are blood related to you and that they want to see their bloodline succeed. You know, like they want success for everyone who's in their bloodline. They want everyone to do well in this earthly life. So they're personally motivated to give you that assistance whenever possible. So that's the beautiful thing about working with your ancestors, is that they're here for you, you know, and there are also those ancestors, people in the community who have passed on, who have transitioned on, who we like to give honor to because of their great works while they were alive. Those people are also ancestors. They could be people from our community, great teachers, great spiritual leaders, and those people you honor too. However, what I'm going to talk about is working with those ancestors who are bloodline related. And it's a good way to start, and let's just kind of talk about it, some of the things that I have on my altar. Now you can kind of see it a little bit. I'm pointing the wrong direction, right over here. Over my shoulder a little bit. I've kind of redone it a little bit. I've had other things going on for years with my ancestor altar. And then finally I did a reading for myself. I was just getting that feeling. There was some things happening in my life, and I said, well, you know what, let me speak directly to my ancestors. And they were like, you know what, it's time to redo this space that you have for us. And they asked me to do certain things for this space, which I think was wonderful. You know, I just hadn't really thought about it at all. So I kind of spruced up my ancestor space. I moved it to a different corner in my room. You could see it's in my bedroom. And I added some things, which I'll talk about what I've added. A lot of the things I just, you know, are there from before. So one thing that I want to share with you is that different practices will have different places that you'll put your ancestor altar. For me, my location's in my bedroom, and that's just because for my altars, I don't want people coming over my home and touching any of the things that are on my altars. So all of my personal altars are in my room, my bedroom. Now, there's certain cases, and this is not ancestral, so, you know, at least to my knowledge, this is not ancestral. There's certain cases, certain spiritual deities that you work with, you wouldn't have them in your bedroom. It's just, you know, from what I've heard, it causes chaos. In terms of your ancestors, for me, I feel like mine would, you know, we have a relationship where if things need to take place in my bedroom, they excuse themselves. You know, like it's not really one of those things where they're just constantly there, you know, looking at you. It's more of a relationship, and this is a place where you can call upon them to do your work specifically with them when you need to. So, that being said, and again, if you have different opinions about this, definitely comment below. And again, this is one of those things, like I said, you can take or leave what I said and whatever works for you, whatever is for you common sense, then go ahead and please do that. One of my locks is like really kind of out here. Okay. All right. So what I like to say in general in terms of working with the ancestors, especially if you're pretty new at doing this, is to use the color white. The color white is just great in terms of balancing the energies, bringing in healing and transformation. White and things that are clear are very comforting for an ancestor altar. So I would try to use those colors primarily when you're first starting out with your ancestor altar. Now your ancestor altar it's a place where you're going to place those items that are special to your ancestors. Maybe you've intuited that they want a certain place and they want certain things on their altar. That happens, you know, after a while of developing your practice and listening to them and cultivating what sounds like their voice to you in terms of what they want done. You will begin to implement those things onto your altar. So white, I do suggest using white, such as a white cloth, altar cloth, or a piece of cloth to cover a table. You can use a small table. If the table's been stored or used for something else, take a cloth, a washcloth that's been dipped in white vinegar and a solution of white vinegar and water, and just rinse off, you know, wipe off the table. So you can just wipe off that energy. Any instruments that you're going to be using, maybe you could just wipe that off with a solution of white vinegar and water. It doesn't have to be very strong. You just want to kind of clean it off energetically and kind of set it up for its new primary use, right? So once you've cleaned the table, I cover the table with a nice white muslin cloth. And then I might get a nicer cloth to put over that, like a white lace or a white piece of really nicer fabric to make it a little bit more fancy and nice. So from there, you might want to go and get some white flowers. And I like those white flowers. I think they're called astrolias. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. But I get some of these white flowers just at the grocery store, and they last a really long time. My ancestors, like my shrine and my altars, like this particular flower. It seems to last for like a week and a half or so. So I use that cut flower. I might get for my ancestor altar, I got some lilies, white lilies. Depending on the time of year, you can get a lot of different white flowers, and you'll see what resonates with your altar. You know how you could tell with flowers if they die immediately? Maybe that's not the flower that resonates with the energy that's on your altar. Just a simple way to tell that. So white flowers, and then I divined on this, but sometimes if you don't have tools for divination right now, or you don't have access to anyone who can divine it for you, I would, you could say with clear water if you wanted to, clear water in a clear glass. I divine, and it's funny because my ancestors, as well as the other positive spirit energies that I work with, all like gin, Bombay. So Bombay gin is, hey, that's the choice liquor of my spirits. So some Bombay gin is what I have, some nice clear liquor. But you never know, because some ancestors might like whiskey, they might like scotch, they might like Cavassier. I don't even know what Cavassier is. That might be scotch or whiskey. Who knows? But I'm saying, like, you will begin to know. And if you knew a particular ancestor while they were living, and you knew what they liked to drink, then maybe that's what you would start with. Otherwise, you can get a divination, and depending on who you get it from, they could tell you a little bit more about what you want to add to the altar, right? Pictures of the deceased. Those are very nice to have if you have them. So one caution I would put out there, and this has just been taught to me from past teachers, is that you only put pictures on the altar of deceased people. So no pictures where it's kind of like you and your grandfather if he's passed away. No mixing of pictures where there's living and dead in those pictures. So have the pictures just be of the deceased that are on your altar. They can be framed or unframed. It's just a preference. Some of the pictures I've framed on my altar, and others I haven't. It just depends on the picture. You know, it just depends. Altars for ancestors can be very casual. They could be very casual because the work is really for you, and that's the relationship. So they tend to be a little low-key in that respect. They don't need a lot of elaborate altars, although people can make very fancy and elaborate altars for their ancestors. It just depends. If you have very little in your life, maybe you're in a living situation where you can't even erect a big altar or do something even fancy, just a windowsill with that's clean, and a candle and a glass of water and maybe a picture, that would be fine. You know, you can keep it that simple. And if you're not able to have any kind of altar, you can just take moments in meditation and prayer and invite your ancestors in. That's how simple it really could get. You know, don't think that I have to have this altar or my ancestors won't come. That's not true. The altar is a nice tool, a nice way of honoring them, and maybe in a lot of cases presenting a portal, for an easier portal for them to communicate with you. But that doesn't mean they can't work with you if you don't have these things. Do you get what I'm saying? They're here for you, and the easiest way possible for you to get in touch with them and develop your relationship, they're going to work with you. You know, say you're just so down on your luck, you can only afford like a small little votive candle, that's fine. You know, like, work with it and use it. The whole idea behind this is to start working with your ancestors wherever you're at. Wherever you're at. So just know this. It doesn't take a lot of huge material items to get started. It just takes remember in the last video I said it just takes your awareness and your willingness to work with your ancestors. They're waiting for you. They just want you to say, hey, I need your assistance. And that's all they need to hear. And they will come and assist you. A lot of traditions believe you actually physically, verbally need to ask them to come and assist you. You know, it's the nature of the universe is free will, right? So, you know, even though they'll be looking out for you, they're, you know, she didn't really ask for my help. You know, put it out there. Put it officially out there. I want you to come in my life. I want to develop a relationship with you. I want to be able to seek your assistance in my life and your guidance in my life. You know, to say that and open that relationship up just with that. So other things that you can put on your altar, a feather. You know, I like to represent the 4 elements of nature. There's probably more elements of nature, but typically what's known as the 4: water, air, fire, and earth. So I like to represent those on any spiritual altar space. So you can put in a glass of water to represent your water. A feather is a really nice way of representing the air, right? Birds fly in the air. So a nice feather of some sort of bird, maybe even a feather you found that's been released by one of our bird spirits, you could put on your altar. So a feather to represent air. The fire will be represented by a candle. Now I use white candles. for my Ancestor Altar. And you can use the 7-day candles, those large enclosed 7-day, they call them 7-day candles. They don't really last 7 days. They're more like 5 or 6 days depending. But they're tall 7-day glass enclosed candles. You can usually buy them anywhere. Like where I live, it's very diverse. So even our grocery store, our regular grocery store, sells 7-day candles in the Latino section of the store. So if you go into where the Mexican food would be, or Latino section of your grocery store, you'll usually see the 7-day candles there. It won't be a large assortment probably in a grocery store, but usually white is there. Now, I don't get the candles with all the decals on them, like Jesus and all the different saints. You can do that if that's part of your practice. I'm not saying don't do it. It's just that I usually just get the plain ones. But a lot of people will get whatever the saints, or they might get one with Mary on it, or Guadalupe, or they might get one with Jesus. That's fine. It's your personal preference. But I just use the plain white if that's not part of your practice, you know. So the white candles, 7-day is good, but if you can't find 7 days, sometimes there's some smaller glass enclosed ones. Sometimes there's pillar ones. Now I want to talk about candle safety. I've heard of people having serious fires in their house with small little votive candles that they left burning. So be aware of that. Candle fire, even though it can seem contained while you're there in the room, when you walk away or you go to work, who knows what happens, you know? And you want to keep all those things in mind. If you're a person who really wants to you've done some work and you really want to keep the candle burning, you could place the candle in a bowl of water. I would just recommend that anyway, whether you're home or not, to place it in a bowl of water. That way, candles have been known, especially the glass enclosed ones, to pop, to break, to explode. Anyone who reads candles could probably tell you that that's a signal of something spiritually. I don't read candles, but I know that if a candle kind of explodes on you or breaks or cracks, maybe you want to look at that. Maybe you want to get a divination or a reading by an experienced practitioner, because there may be some message in that for you. However, just on the precautionary side, you want to keep your candles in a shallow bowl of water. Now, it's going to be completely up to you whether you leave a candle burning while you're away from home. I don't recommend it. I just don't. Ever since I heard the story of the little votive catching someone's house completely on fire that they left, and those are the little small candles that typically don't burn that long, I just err on the side of caution. You know, you can put it out with your fingers and then relight it when you get home if you need to. If you want to keep it burning, just check on it and have someone check on it all the time. Make sure that you're keeping the room closed off to small children and to your pets, because you just don't want to increase anything, any chances of that happening and becoming a hazard. And you don't want to be irresponsible with your neighbors and things like that. So be responsible with your candles on your altar. That being said, other things that you could put on your ancestor altar, a gemstone that's really great, a crystal that's great for working with your ancestors, is a clear crystal quartz. It has like little clusters, you'll see. It's clear. Great for working with your ancestors and that spiritual communication, opening it up with clarity. So a great gemstone to use. One thing you want to do that would be nice to have, especially once you begin to do prayers and meditations and sitting with your ancestors, is to have some sort of bell or some claves, or, you know, like little meditation chimes, something, a sound to kind of break up the energy, clear it out, so that your some people will ring the bell while they're saying a portion of their prayers, while they're calling in their ancestors. And some people, you can call in your ancestors by name, if you know who you want to call in by name. Others of us may just call in all of those ancestors who sit at the feet of the Creator, who we know are here to assist us. That includes people who are unknown to us, right? So you could do both. You can call in specific ancestors. You can just be more general. But some people will ring the bell while they're doing that, or they'll, you know, they'll hit their claves while they're doing this. Claves are those little two sticks, percussionary sticks. So you could do that. You can click your sticks. Any kind of instrument, a drum. I have a hand drum. Sometimes I use my hand drum, like a Native American hand drum. Depends on what I'm feeling. If I want to go into a deeper meditation and I want to do something more shamanic, where I'm going into a deeper meditation and prayer, I might use my drum and do like a heartbeat type of beat that's repetitive. But otherwise, you could just use a bell. I have this old vintage school bell that I use most of the time, and it's in the shape of kind of like an old mammy, quote unquote mammy, that I found. It was very interesting how I found that. So anyway, I think that was just like a divine gift for me. So I have that kind of bell. Other things that you want to implement with your ancestor altar are incense. I like incense. If you're not allergic or you don't have sensitivities to fragrance, cleansing incense is to me, one of the most important elements of beginning your prayer work with your ancestor. And so I like to use frankincense resin. And I have like the little charcoals. There's little round charcoals that you can buy them anywhere. You can even buy them off of Amazon for really cheap. Like I brought like 100 roll box for like $12 or something. I would probably won't run out for like a year or two. But these little round discs, they're little charcoal discs that are activated with a simple match. And once the charcoal is activated, you could put the little the incense resin right there in the middle of the charcoal, and it burns like an incense. And frankincense is very powerful. A lot of churches use it. It cleanses the air. It's very healing, that smell. So I use the frankincense to clear the air, to purify the air. And then I might use something called sweetgrass. I wish I had put it near me, but I didn't. Sweetgrass, Native American sweetgrass, is like a braid of grass, and it smells really sweet, and that's a nice incense to follow the frankincense, to bring positivity and sweetness into the air. So you can use sweetgrass, you can use any kind of sweet smelling incense after you do the cleansing, such as Nang Champa or some other sweet smelling incense. I would suggest using nice organic incense, because some of the cheaper ones have a lot of cheap perfumes, which can be kind of harmful if you're smoking that in the air, you know. So be aware of the type of incense and materials that you're using. Other than that, once the ancestor altar has been set up, I do my prayers, I light my candles, and I just, I keep in contact. I talk to my ancestors like I'm talking on this video, about things that are happening, things that I am grateful for, things that I would like to manifest in life. Now, my ancestors, when I divined, said they wanted me to make another doll that's specifically for them. So that's what I did. I thought the doll was going to be dressed in white, but it turned out to be that her hair was white and her outfit was red, which was interesting. So you could kind of see her on the back there. She's attached to these branches. And so she's my ancestor doll that I made specifically for my new ancestor altar. It's not new, but my expanded ancestor altar. So there are other elements on my altar which are private to me, and I would suggest that you kind of think about that too, that maybe there's some things that you want privately to include on your altar, symbols of your family, things that are meaningful to you, that remind you of family and your bloodline and the strengthening of your bloodline. So be sure to include those things. A lot of this is an intuitive process. You can take my suggestions, but you may find after a while you want to add some things or take some things away. It's completely up to you. So with that being said, I want to let you all know that the new year is coming up, and January 2nd, if you live in the San Francisco Bay Area and you are a woman who would like to explore calling in the ancestors and making an ancestor doll, I'll be doing a Sacred She ancestor doll workshop where we're going to call in our ancestors. We're going to work with them around some of our goals, and we're going to create a representation in the form of an ancestor doll. So if you want to join me for that workshop, I'm going to put the link at the end of this video, which is on my website, which is www.arthealsus.com, and you can look at that class description and see if that's an event that you'd like to participate in. So thank you again for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, please put them below. And if you like this video, like it. Let me know that this is something that you find useful, and I'll keep making more videos regarding the same type of information. Take care. Peace.